video. You're watching the first lesson in fractions. In this lesson, we'll be reviewing things you've done with fractions before. I find that students tend to forget the key operations in fractions, and it's good to review and remember the proper ways of what to do when you're calculating fractions. So, let's begin. I'd like to start off with describing what a fraction is. A fraction is a number, or a series of numbers, that is used to show how much of a whole we have. For example, when we look at this middle picture, we would say that the amount colored, in purple in this case, is 1 to 4. This is saying that this represents that the circle has one of its 4 parts filled, right? We have 4 parts in total, that's the whole, and we have 1 part filled in. In this one, we have 3 parts filled in out of a total of 4, so it's 3/4. And in this one, we have 2/4 because 2 parts of the whole is filled in. So fractions are used to show how much of a total set you have. There are certain key parts you need to know about fractions. For example, the top part and the bottom part. You should know that the top part is called the numerator. This is how many parts you have, right? So if I were to look at this fraction, the top number is telling me I have 4 parts, 4 whatever, right? The bottom is called the denominator, and that is the total number of parts. So that is the total number of parts. So what this is saying is that I have 4 out of 5 parts. That's all fractions are. I have 4 out of 5 parts in this case. If I had 1 out of 2, right? If I had 1 out of 2, I have 1 out of 2 parts. If I have 3 out of 10, I have 3 out of 10 parts, right? Fractions are just telling you how many parts you have out of a total. So real quick, what are the fractions of each? So pause the video, just figure it out. It should take like 2 seconds. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3 parts in total, so our denominator should be 3. 1 part is colored, so it's 1/3. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 parts in total, and 2 are colored, right? In this one we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 parts in total, right? And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts filled in, right? That's all fractions are. So they're really easy to get fractions from. Equivalent fractions. An equivalent fraction is when you have 2 or more fractions that represent the same thing. This can also be considered simplifying or having more simple fractions. Let's take a look. So in this circle, half the circle is colored in. So 2 parts, 1 out of the 2 parts is colored in. Easy, right? In this case, we have 4 parts in total, and 2 out of the 4 parts are colored in. So we'd say 2 out of 4. In this case, we have 8 parts in total, right? So we could say that 4 out of 8 parts are colored in. Now, this also leads into the notion of simplifying fractions, right? All of these fractions mean the same thing. But the best way to show an answer is to use the smallest numbers possible, right? So 4 over 8 has the largest numbers, 2 out of 4 has the second largest, and 1 over 2 has the smallest numbers. So when you're getting an answer, you want to go with the fraction that uses the smallest numbers. So let's say you end up with 2 out of 4. Okay, well, I want to simplify the equation, right? And the way you do that is you look at the top, you look at the bottom, and you go, okay, is there a number I can divide the top by that I can also divide the bottom by? Well, what can I divide 2 by? I can divide 2 by 1 and 2. Well, anything can be divided by 1, so we won't use 1. But I can divide 2 by 2, right? If I divide 2 by 2, I'll get 1, right? That'll equal 1. But I have to divide the bottom by the same number, right? So 4 divided by 2 equals 2. and our fraction's 1 over 2, just like this. Right? Let's take a look at this guy. I have 4 over 8. Okay, is there a number I can divide 8 and 4 by? Right? It has to be the same number. If I can divide 8 by 2, right? I can also divide 4 by 2. Right? So 4 divided by 2, 8 divided by 2. Well, 4 divided by 2 is 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Oh, well, that's just this one. And I can do the same thing again to get 1 over 2. Another way you could do it, you can divide 4 and 8 by 4. So you can divide 8 by 4. You can divide 4 by 4. Right? And that'll give you 1 over 8 divided by 4 is 2. And you end up with 1 over 2 again. Right? This is simplifying fractions. You divide the top and bottom by the same number. And if you can do that without getting decimals, then you've simplified the fraction. Right? Can I simplify 1 over 2? Not really. Right? I can only divide 1 by 1. And I can only divide 2 by 1 and 2. And I can't divide 1 by 2 so without getting decimals. So this is as small as I can get. So equivalent fractions. So these are some examples we can use where we're trying to find equivalent fractions. Right? So if you remember from a previous unit with rates, ratios, and relations, you can do a quick trick to solve these questions. Right? This is your x, so you start on the other side. You go 8 times 6 divided by 24 gives you your answer. So let's try that. So you go 8 times 6 divided by 24. X is 2, right? And I can prove this. I can prove that this is 2. 8 and 24. Okay, can I divide this by something? Can I divide this by something? Well, I can divide 8 by 4, and I can also divide 24 by the same number, 4. Well, 24 divided by 4 is 6. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 2 over 6. I can go even a step further. I can simplify it even further. 2 over 6, divide this by 2, 1. Divide this by 2, 3. Right? Same here. 12 times 9 divided by 18 gives us a number. Okay. So 12 times 9 divided by 18 gives us 6. Right? And again, I can check my answer. What can I divide 12 and 18 by? Well, I can divide 18 by 2. I can divide 12 by 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 6 over 9 is equivalent. And I can go even further. I can divide 6 by 3, which would give me 2. I can divide 9 by 3, which would give me 3. Right? So if you can keep dividing the numbers, you can find simpler fractions. And if you're missing a part of a fraction, but it needs to be equivalent to another fraction, you can just do the fish trick to find the missing value. Okay, I'm going a bit fast because this is all review. So, mixed fractions and improper fractions. What is an improper fraction? Well, an improper fraction is when the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So remember, when we go back to our introduction here, this is how many parts you have, and this is the total number of parts, right? You can't have more parts than the total. That's like saying, out of 10 apples, I have 15. That doesn't make sense, right? So this is called an improper fraction because it's saying out of 7 parts, I have 48, right? Out of 7 people, 48 are there. That doesn't make any sense. So you can make a mixed fraction when a whole number is combined with a fraction, right? When a whole number is combined with a fraction. So both of these represent the same thing. And you can convert one to the other. So how do I turn an improper fraction into a mixed fraction? Well, you find how many times the denominator fits into the numerator without going over, right? What's left is your new numerator. So how many 7s fit into 48? Well, you can say 1 7 fits into 48, 2 7s, 14, yeah, 3 7s, 21, 4 7s, 28, 5 7s, 35, so we're still not over. 6 sevens, 42. Okay, so 6 sevens pretty close. Can we go 7 sevens? No, that's 49. That's too much. I went over. So 6 sevens is the maximum amount of sevens that can fit into it. So that becomes our whole number. 7 fits into 48 6 times. Right? Perfect. Now, how much is left? Well, 7 times 6 is 42. So how much is left? Well, 6 is left. So you have 6 over 7. And that'll be your mixed number or mixed fraction. You find out how many of your denominators fit into your numerator. That's your whole number. You take that, and whatever's left is your new numerator. So those are all those things that we've covered so far. It's a lot of information, but it's important to know. Adding and subtracting fractions. Now, this is something that catches a lot of people. How do we add and how do we subtract fractions? Well, it depends on what your denominators are. And we will go over this in the next lesson. I will have a video in and of itself just for adding and subtracting fractions because those are challenging. Okay? So hopefully you found this useful, and I'll see you in the adding and subtracting lessons.